Hello everybody, let's exit to port. It is currently, at the time of recording, the 18th of February, 15:04 Central European Time. And for those of you keeping track on what the weather is and so on, it is a crisp winter's day here in northern Norway, and the sun is slowly returning. I had a glorious drive back home from the hospital today, and really seeing northern Norway in its winter splendor. It makes me happy, but something that also makes me happy is the fact that I have my ever well-rounded, and slightly spicy co-host, Mr. Grumbles the Dwarf.
Hello, it is I, Grumbles the Habanero Dwarf.
Oh man, you know what I want now? Pizza with habanero on it. Dang it. I think I'm going to have pizza today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Welcome to episode 2 of this of season 5, where we are hopefully a little bit more prepared than last time. Not that we weren't well prepared. I feel like we had a good conversation last time too, but you know, this is one of those things. First and foremost, I want to thank our patrons who will be hearing this in not too long, hopefully, for choosing to dedicate $2 or $2 equivalent per month. And we are now up to a whopping 5 paying members, and you guys are now very much supporting the podcast and staying fully hosted without any issues. So thank you so much to that. And if you want to join that exclusive club of people that always will get their comments or questions answered, you can do so over at patreon.com/exit2port. $2 a month. Of course, any sort of waiver of any rights apply. No, wait, that's not how that goes. No, take care of yourself first. We know that for some, even $2 a month can be a lot. So this is not necessary or anything, but it is very much appreciated if you have that ability. So there's that. And we're gonna say thank you properly to our 5 patrons and our newest patron a bit later on in the episode. But quickly, some not homework, but more replying to some comments that I forgot to reply to a couple of times. At Scott2836 on YouTube commented on our last episode, saying, as someone viewing Eco from outside of the game, I find myself both fascinated and frustrated. The rest of the time, I'm laughing my ass off. I think the frustration is not being part of it because of the fascination with seeing interactions and the idiosyncrasies, Jesus Christ, brain. It's one of those days, okay? Bear with me. Of the various characters. I'm not asking to be let in. It's just the natural, oh, look, this looks fun, I wish I was doing it experience. And yeah, no, I can definitely see that being part of Eco. And I've been there myself, too. So yeah, we very much recognize this.
Yep.
And I hope you got a bit of an insight into Eco through our last episode, too, by the way. Another comment that I think we fully meant to actually talk about this in January, but it just slipped our minds because of where we were brain-wise. Molotov said, do you get any numbers from Amazon Audible? Is there any benefit for you listening in any particular platform? Waves, Chelmsford, postcode flag. So we've identified our Chelmsfordian Is that what you call people from Chelmsford, Chelmsfordian?
It is now.
Okay. And no, we don't get any numbers from Audible as such. I think that just rolls into our Buzz Sprout numbers. And I think the most benefit we get is if you become a patron. But no, we don't have any ads. We don't have any revenue on any of these. So, so there's that. So no reason to do that. Maybe at some point we'll start to kind of send people more towards Spotify or something where we might get ads. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not a podcast biologist, if that could be a thing. Is that a thing?
I don't know. We'll have to check the categories afterwards.
Good. So yeah, that's a bit of housekeeping, shall we say. So thank you so much for the comments, and keep them coming, please, because we really do like having a tiny bit of a conversation and talking to you guys who listen to us. We are gonna jump straight into a few recently played games, and I think we're seeing a theme in a lot of the games that we play, naturally. But first and foremost, we're gonna talk about you and your adventure into space and space engineers. Because you've been hitting that a lot lately, and first you hopped in on a bit of a YouTube series together with TC and a few others. Who are the others?
Now you're putting me on the spot. I don't have all the names in front of me. They are Captain Jack, Beeblebum, A-Gear, Masonic Turnip, Survival Bob. I'm doing quite well so far, and I'm going to be annoyed afterwards when I remember some more. Akinai Empire. I think that rounds off the list.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this is your first foray into Space Engineers, is it?
Yeah, first proper. So I had the game gifted couple of 3 years ago. By Ether Master, and played one session, and there's a big learning curve and everything to it. And it was kind of like, okay, I was in the middle of some other stuff, like stream wise, variety wise. So it was like, well, 3 or 4 hours and you don't really scratch the surface of a game like Space Engineers. So it didn't, it's kind of like, okay, well, one and done, but not for any negative reason, just like, I don't really get it yet.
Yeah.
And I had to move on time-wise. And so this is my first proper foray into it. And as you would kind of anticipate from me, I was like, yeah, I should probably play that like a day or so before and just get a first impression and work out how I'm doing. So I had kind of planned to do that. Then I streamed a little bit longer than normal on a Wednesday. And then it was like, it suddenly dawned on me, wait, in 2 hours, I have my first recording session and I haven't tried this out or anything. So... but yeah, I've just dived into it, and we're doing some fun roleplay shenanigans. And thankfully for me, I'm with 3 very capable folks: TC Freer, Urban Hangman, and Valkyrie, and they all know what they're doing. They're all very competent and experienced in the game, and so I get to just be Ivan in space, being dazed and confused. We're playing a role of the ship's cook with a potato soup speciality. And a penchant for coffee, and so far we have no potatoes and no coffee. But yeah, so apart from that, everything's going fine. So I've been promoted.
Hold on. Why does this give me Voyager flashbacks to Janeway going, "There's coffee in that nebula"?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's there's probably an element of lots of things like that. Also, because I've been rewatching The Expanse again, so and James Holden is very much into his coffee. So probably and yeah, just I gotta say, I've been so blown away by the whole experience. I'm very much addicted to the game itself because I just didn't know enough about what the game entailed and what you could do in it, and for a game that's like about 12 years old or something when it first released, It's quite incredible. It's got a really big and welcoming community around it, not just the people I mentioned before, but just generally the players and audience and things like that have been incredible. And it's one of those games where I'd be like, I bet there's going to be loads of backseating and like, you're doing this wrong and you need to do that and stop doing this and press that button. And it's not been like that at all. People have been very kind of understanding of my sort of slow learning by doing way of things, and very generous with their advice without it being like, oh, let's just backseat for the next 8 hours and tell Grumbles what he should be doing. So I think partly because, you know, that's not the vibe that we give out generally either, but I think also because it's coincided with the launch of the series. So people know, okay, this is this kind of slightly this quirky Ivan ship's cook guy, and now he's just playing and trying to learn the game in parallel kind of thing. We've been doing like live learn sessions, so that's worked pretty well. It's been very positive, overwhelmingly positive experience for me. And yeah, just I gotta say, like, the game, it's another one of those that it's got some sort of things that we've talked about with Foxhole before, where the game doesn't necessarily make it super easy and straightforward to get into and like understand like what are the, you know, like the core stuff is kind of there, but depending on how you go about and how you start, the tutorials are more frustrating than helpful, although some people's mileage varies, I've heard. But what you do is you know, the usual thing, you jump on YouTube and you go, where should I start with this game? And then you watch, you know, half an hour of one or two channels and you go, oh, okay, so you do this and this and this. Okay. And then you go in and you say, okay, so if the game told you to do this and then this and then this, you'd probably have worked that out, but it didn't. So, yeah. But beyond that, it's got a really active modding community. You can, like, I've even managed to do it with my slow pace. You can do this thing called blueprinting, where you just make an instance of whatever ship or almost anything you can build in the game, like an entire base and stuff. You could blueprint if you wanted to. And then you can upload those onto either Steam or mod.io for the Xbox and that. And yeah, you can, you know, then reproject and reprint your vehicles or whatever back into the game and publish those things to Steam for people to have a laugh with or whatever, or, you know, build their own variants of and things like that. So it's a very cool like side aspect to it. Nice. Modding community is fantastic. There's so many things that add like more life into the game, like random encounters that can be more sort of PvE NPCs and more aggressive things and stuff if you want. And yeah, and there's like, you know, half a dozen or more different ways you can sort of start the game, and that's before you even just let your imagination run wild and say, I'm going to build, I don't know, the Battlestar Galactica. Just pick a random one out the top of my head.
So random.
Yeah, so random that I always go to in practically every game ever. You know, and you know, there's you can either try that in vanilla, or there's mods that sort of help you get there as well. Yeah, the game has like scripting elements to it and that as well, where you can have put LCDs up and have them like showing your power consumption and power output or generation, your infantry status. You can have automation of things like always make sure I've got 500 steel plates in my inventory somewhere, and it'll always keep churning over the resources to make those if you ever run out or whatever. So you can kind of, you know, and then you can build like warships or transportation vessels or mining vessels or, you know, all sorts of things. And you've got this whole like little solar system to go out and explore. You know, and I've barely scratched the surface of it yet, and I've gone from like 4 hours in it to like, I don't know, 124 or something like that in a very short space of time. It's very engaging for me and a lot of fun.
It is one of those games that really, if you have a knack for these things or enjoy stuff like Factorio or Satisfactory, Stormworks, you know, these voxel-based building games that slowly but surely kind of escalate, that it's very much going to be within that wheelhouse and be perfect. But it's also one of those where the fun starts early, but it doesn't end because you have this enormous, vast system of how you can build, how you can produce something, and where you go, and it gives you opportunities, simply put.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
and the only limit is pretty much just you know, what do I want to do?
Mm-hmm. Yep. 100%. So storytelling opportunities abound in there as well, and I dare say it's something that we might, end up doing as a group thing at some point as well. Either with a dinner party or, a mixture of different groups and things. Yeah, you just have to see. I'm at a point where I'm sort of got a dozen ideas and like that I want to do with this, but I'm also like, let's not do too many projects in a row because, that doesn't necessarily turn out as fun as you think it will. Because I end up feeling like I'm giving 25% to every project rather than taking two projects and saying, okay, you can both get at least 69% of me, and that's good.
And I think a lot of people are going to be like, but space engineers too. Yeah, we know. That doesn't mean that space engineers is not valid anymore. Trust us.
Mm-hmm.
Because and space engineers is also one of those games I've played a little bit very early on, like way before planets was a thing.
Okay.
Everything started out in space. You started on this little asteroid, that's it, and then you kind of had to start building from scratch out in space, and I haven't touched it since. But then me and a friend, we built like a giant cone shaped miner, which was like 16 by 16 blocks of mining. Like that was it, and drilled through asteroids left, right, and center. Because I think this was before inventory went full. Like there was no restriction on how much you could carry.
Right.
So we just kind of went ham, and it was a lot of fun. That's where I learned Praise Clank.
Okay, yeah.
Praise Clank. But I still want to get into it and learn it again. Or learn it properly, I should say. Because it's the sort of, like you mentioned this whole part of building something you really want to build. And I think for my sake, I would love to build either a Star Destroyer or something similar, and just enjoy it and have fun with it, and yeah, no, space engineers will allow me that. It would.
Yeah, it's so funny because I didn't really get a chance to fully embrace it and get it those few years ago. I came back to it thinking. Well, I mean, I came back to it purely for the purposes of this YouTube series because I thought, well, this could just be a lot of fun with a fun team and the setting and everything as it was described for me. And I was super nervous and still feel a bit nervous about it because I'm trying to fit in with everyone else that like knows what the heck they're doing all the time. But as I said, the way it's worked out of me being like the kind of in air quotes useless one or whatever, it works quite well for comic relief, but also like it's a good opportunity for everyone to you think and see things differently than people that have got all the time and experience in it. So it's nice to put a fresh perspective on it. And I think for me, it's just I always I like building some stuff, even if I start millions of projects and rarely finish one. But this one gives you that sense of like, I can really just let my imagination run a little bit and have a go and fail in that, and then you can have some good laughs about what you get wrong and everything as well. But I think it's weird. It's like filling that perfect niche in my mind where I'm like, oh man, I really like insert other game here, but I wish I could do this and this, or and in particular things like, and I'm not gonna draw the ire hopefully of people, you never know, but like Star Citizen, where you think, well, it's kind of a bit empty and like, there's all these lovely ships and that, but they either cost lots of money or you build up in-game credits and buy them, and then maybe in the next wipe you've lost them again and all this kind of thing. That is a source of irritation because that's supposedly not how it works, but it does anyway. but this Space Engineer, I know they're very different, like approaches and the sort of principle of it. But ultimately, this is a space game. This is kind of what I'd want Star Citizen to let me do. Can I salvage stuff and everything and do all that stuff and the mining and that? Yes. But you're doing that in Star Citizen for the purpose of basically making credits. So you can buy more ships and things. Whereas in this, it's like, no. You're going to just make whatever you want. Oh, you can go and buy as well. There's all of that. There's contracts and all that kind of thing in this game too, which I didn't realize was a part of it as well. So that's pretty awesome. But for me personally, just being able to say, as you said, like if I want to build a Star Destroyer or, we're just building an Eagle from Space 1999 TV show, and you're just learning by doing and developing as you go along, it's very flexible in that regard. And that for me is a real plus, a real big itch that I can scratch where I can build stuff. But it's rather than just like, oh, you build a big base and then you live in your base and whatever. In this, it's like, no, it serves the purpose of like everything's helping you get towards space or get to a particular asteroid or find a certain resource or just explore the universe and take contracts and do search and rescue missions. And, there's all these different things you can do. But you're typically doing that with like, you're also your own sort of ingenuity and what you can craft and come up with in the meantime. So it's like lots of grind and hard work, but the payoff is huge. Because suddenly it's like, oh, I built this rover, I built this spaceship, and now we're on the moon. That kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's and I think a lot of people will also really much be satisfied by you put down a block and then you complete the block. It's not just clang, 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 you're done. No, it's ding. Was that the right way? Yes, it was. Bzzzt. Oh, and now it's built. So you get that kind of instant feedback of you are doing something. You are directly shaping and forming this, and I think that's really cool.
Yep.
That is something that Space Engineers does well, and there are a few other games that have similar sort of building systems that are very well received by anyone that enjoys building games. So, so yeah, no, Space Engineers, it's a big game, and it's gonna. I have a feeling it's gonna stay on our horizon for a while.
Yep.
Despite being an old game.
Agreed.
There's a couple.
I think the Space Engineers 2 could be a lot of fun when it's had a bit of time to get ready for the masses, as it were. Let's put it that way.
Yes, indeed, because that's another thing. Like, it's is it fully released or is it still early access?
They released to early access.
They released to early access. Yeah, okay.
Different, people have varying opinions on whether it's ready for that.
Yeah.
Or not, but how that is with Steam in general without picking on this one particular game. There's lots of early access that kind of works, and there's lots of early access that's like, ooh, this is needs some more cooking. And this seems to be a little bit in the latter category, but I've heard people having fun with it already, but if you're not very experienced or ready to fully embrace something in the truest sense of early access, then maybe leave it to cook for a little bit longer.
Let's hope that it cooks well. Because if their first project was anything to base Space Engineers 2 on, then hopefully they'll be able to live up to the hype and to the production value of the first one.
Yep.
Definitely. There's a couple of other older games out there that we've been playing, or rather, I've been playing. It's also a new one, but let me set kind of the stage here. I was sitting in Eco as Tiger, digging and doing excavating of coal or whatever it was I was doing at the time, and I was talking to the community. And talking about games that I wanted to play, and how I always seem to end up playing games that has to do with digging a hole or mining or this sort of game.
Yep.
And then someone mentioned Hydroneer. If I'd played that, I was like, yes, I haven't played it, but I have it in my library. And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll hop over. We'll play that now. Didn't play that right then, but we ended up playing a few days later. And what a lovely little title. It's a single player game, and you are a Hydroneer. You are you're digging for gems and gold and ore and stuff, and and all you're starting out with is a shovel,
right,
a wash pan, and a brush and a bucket.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
And then you use your shovel. You put some dirt into your bucket. Then you take your wash pan, you fill that with water, you dump your bucket into the wash pan, and then you take your brush, you wash it off, and see if you have any gold or of other kinds, gems, and so on and so forth. And then you kind of start like that's your start. That you start from the bare minimum, super basic, right? And I was like, is this all there is to this game? Like, I could probably enjoy this for a few moments and then move on. No. This is far. Oh my lord, this has so much more to offer. There's a DLC. There's a story DLC to it.
Okay.
There's also story in the main game. I have barely scratched the surface of it so far.
Okay.
There's automation of digging. There are several different types of dig sites. There are quests to do. There are vehicles. There's so much going on in this game. In this completely unassuming, just like you wouldn't think it a cool story game with quests and stuff if you were to look at it, like look at the surface of it.
Right.
And everything is water based. So if you are supposed to be automating anything, well, you need to put water pipes, like pipes that pump in water from the river, from the whatever you have, like any water source you have. You need to run that through piping and into the machines that you want to automate.
Right.
There's no fuel. Like, even the trucks you have, even all of the big, large equipment you have is ran on water. So there's
everything water.
Yeah, there's no other sources of fuel that you need to get. You don't need to dig out coal to then throw it into somewhere to fire that steam engine up. No. It's just water. That's it. And I love the simplicity of it because... And this is going to be the downfall of a lot of people for this game.
Right.
You have a crosshair, right? Like, this is a simple crosshair, middle of the screen. That's where you aim it to pick up your tools, to pick up anything, to interact with anything. However, it has a physics simulation of sorts where once you have picked up a bucket, you will no longer bring that out in front of you in the middle to dump it. No, that dumps slightly to the right of said crosshair.
Okay.
So you need to be aware of where in the world this physical item is that you're trying to place down. So there's interactions, and then there's physical dropping of items.
Okay.
And some of the items you can interact with, such as the valves or so on, and that will be your crosshair. But if you are holding something, it will drop directly down from your hand, like it's not on your crosshair. And where you're starting out, that is something to get used to. And when a lot of the stuff is so manual as it is in the start, I think that's gonna burn a lot of people. But I ask all of you who are going to try this little game, if you are, keep at it, because once you get to the automation stage, things escalate quickly, okay? Things escalate very quickly, and I think that's why, and for those who are familiar with this person, you will giggle when you know that Let's Game It Out has a wanted poster for him in the game. And for those who are not familiar with Let's Game It Out, I can easily give him the most wonderful shout out to his YouTube channel, because how do I describe what he does? He breaks games, pretty much. That's what he does.
Okay.
By playing them. We're talking Raft, we're talking Satisfactory, we're talking Hydroneer. Like, anything there is a mechanic to interact with, he will play to such a degree that you're like, how? How have you broken this game by doing this? I absolutely love this, and I saw his video on Hydroneer. I'm like, oh my god, what is wrong with you? I love this. That's where I'm at with that, because that's the sort of game Hydroneer is, and I can fully recommend it. And I think you would actually enjoy it, Grumbles.
Okay.
But
interesting.
It's also one of those games where I can see you it being a bit too samey at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
So the core mechanic of it doesn't change, but where you are and what you do it for changes. But yeah, so that's kind of where it can become a bit samey, but at the same time, it's also one of those where I think you could fully enjoy it.
According to the screenshots, it's got fishing.
It does. It does.
It's now on my wish list.
It also has modding. So there's, and some of the modders are some of the actual devs of the game too. So they'll probably fit in a good way, much like with Factorio. Factorio, a lot of the modders are the direct devs of the games too. So yeah, it's which is kind of cool. But speaking of another game that I think you'll enjoy, which also involves digging, it is the game called A Game About Digging a Hole.
I'm aware of this game. I have yet to play it.
No. I won't say too much, but I was introduced to this game by fellow Eco Season player Peace and Quiet, who played Layla. They sent me a message on Discord where I've never felt so seen, but at the moment, at the same time, I felt so insulted. Like, how dare you peg me to the wall as correctly as this, huh? Because this is, she sent me a link for this Steam game and was like, "Hey, are you gonna play this?" I was like, "Huh." I will now. Because while I was playing Hydroneer, someone started, like I mentioned this, that I was that I wanted to play this, and suddenly I had a gift on Steam, and like, it's $5. It's not a long game at all. You can easily beat this in an hour or two if you want to. But it is deceptively simple. You dig a hole. That you dig a hole. That's where we're gonna start. You have a patch of grass in your backyard and you dig a hole.
Nice.
And then it quickly escalates from there. I don't know how to talk about this game but
As soon as I saw the trailer for it, I was like, yeah, that's gonna end up on the wish list. And within like 48 hours, I had been gifted it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll be playing that. We'll be fitting that one into the schedule.
you know, it's a fun little game, and this is one of those where I've seen a few different approaches to it.
Mm-hmm.
There are the people that choose to just go ahead and power through it and dig straight down and not do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are the exploratory types.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are the completionist types.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of you are probably asking, how can you be an exploratory guy in a game about digging a hole? And how can you be a completionist type guy in a game about digging a hole? Well, I can't really answer that without ruining parts of the game. So
yeah,
I'm gonna shut up, but just trust me on this, okay?
but apparently you can. So
yes,
there you go.
Yes, you can.
Tune in to find out.
I think you'll understand me once you kind of jump into it. I will say, it is surprisingly heavy on your system, though.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Because there's a lot of rendering going on.
Yeah.
A lot of physics. So yeah, be aware. Just so you know.
Roger. Yeah.
But we're gonna dance past that, and then for anyone curious about this game, you're just gonna have to check out Grumbles when he plays it. I have a feeling it's going to stay as a YouTube VOD because it's one of those games. It fits.
Okay.
It fits to be a YouTube VOD. But yeah, no, we're gonna hop on over to a couple of other games that we are looking forward to. Games on the horizon. And I want to point out that one of these games is something that it's not a new title at all. It came out in 2022, but I think this is one of those that could be really cool. And it's Out of Ore.
Oh yeah.
It has online co-op, it has LAN co-op, it has single player, but it also has family sharing. And it is very positive for recent reviews, 164, but also very positive for all reviews since release of 1,910. And I mean, the description is a casual, heavy equipment experience. Tracing? Are we doing tracing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it says mine ore, move dirt, build, and repair. I'm here for it. Like, it's these sorts of games that can end up being, well, you know, one of these hidden gems. You know?
Yeah.
And I think this one could probably have some truck piloting, for lack of a better term. Friends of the channel will know what I mean when I say that term. And it could probably also lead to some light RP, some, you know, it has potential. I can just tell by looking at it. Have you looked at this?
I haven't, but I have heard community members who are having a lot of fun with it. So it's one that I need to have a look at. I'd heard of it, but I'd not had time to kind of look into it. Again, partly because I'm trying to protect myself from taking on too many different projects and things in parallel.
Yeah, I mean, I see you have it on your on your wish list, so you know there's that part.
Yeah.
And as late as February 14th of this year, it still had update news, so
there you go.
It's still being maintained. About this game, you are sent out to the most northern base, company mining core, and it's up to you to prospect for ore, mine it, and sell it to earn profit. Run your own mining company, build your site, and expand your fleet. You can explore the wilderness, dig, blast, or build on 7 different maps. Oh shit!
Oh, cool.
With a size of 400,000 square kilometers.
Oh, wow.
Holy crap!
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Yeah. Unlock vehicles and items throughout the journey. Increase your productivity. There are many types of equipment with a lot of variation. Every vehicle can be customized with lights, GPS, paint, tires, and/or tracks. Set off to look for ore. Build your own production plant that can sort, crush, or refine your ore. Explore your surroundings. Build whatever your heart desires. Embark on a long and exciting journey on your work way from laborer at level 1 and all the way to level 70 when you finally become the king of Klondike. All the games support both joystick, controllers, head tracking, and wheels.
Nice.
The game is work in progress and developed by a 5-person crew.
Cool.
But it is in full release, so you know what? The fact that they're kind of that open about how many they are and still seeing support, that makes me positive about it. I really want to try this out at some point. So, yeah, I think this might have to be one of those things that we pop into at some point. Who knows? We'll see. Much like we did with farming sim. Although I'm not done with that. We have more to do on the farm. But yeah.
Oh, there's a lot more to do on the farm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't you know? Speaking of lots more to do, you mentioned Roadcrafter when we were talking about what we were doing in the editorial meeting.
Yeah. That's a game. I believe it's coming from the SnowRunner folks or stable. It's just one that jumps out to me a little bit more than those other products because it's got more of a, make the thing, again, going back to my builder itch and that, I guess, where you're not making the vehicles and such, but you are either being a part of or managing. There's different ways to go about it, apparently. Basically like a construction company type thing or an emergency. It's more like a disaster response type situation.
Yeah.
There's something about that I find quite appealing, like going to help people and whatever out of this nasty circumstance that they've got themselves into, or has happened to them, I should say. So I'm highly intrigued about the possibilities in that, and the fact that the main thing was when they first brought their trailer, I don't believe there was any mention of co-op.
No. As far as I remember, like first time when it mentioned, I was like, "Oh, if this doesn't have co-op, I'm gonna be so sad." And then there was no talk of it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, never mind then."
Yeah.
But now, ta-da! Here we are.
Ta-da! Exactly. So I think up to 4-player co-op. So I think that's going to be perfect for that kind of game and the kind of silly shenanigans and physics and all that's going to happen. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And they only just announced, I think yesterday, or anyway, very recently, that on the 24th of February, which is only a few days away, there's going to be a demo featuring, amongst other things, the up to 4-player co-op. So I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that.
I'm
in this week's in this week's rotation, and see if we can sneak that demo in there somewhere. Should be a good laugh.
It should.
I'm sure it'll be full of shenanigans, but yeah, basically going to places, and the other thing as well is it's not just like, oh, the bridge is out, so fix the bridge. Yes, there could be, but it's also like, or there's a whole lot of logs just in the forest next door. You could pick those up and make a bridge out of those. Or there's a whole lot of dirt and sand and whatever on the side of the river. You could dig up some of the riverbed and do it that way. So you've got some basically some creative ideas that you can have, and the game developers are like, yeah, have at it. There's this scenario. You could fix it the obvious way, or just come up with something and see what happens. So.
Because the thing is with SnowRunner, it had some of these elements of bring this to that place, press E to build the bridge. Here you're actually crafting the road. You're actually doing the job of this. It's not just the click on people's faces to make something happen, you know. And I think that appeals to me a whole lot more than a few of the other games. Don't get me wrong. SnowRunner, a lot of fun. And I mean a lot of fun. But this, it adds an element that really, it really speaks to me.
Yeah, so looking forward to seeing what shenanigans we can get up to in that one. But it didn't quite click with the SnowRunner and the MudRunner and that. I think in part because it was, as you described it, like the go there, do this, move to the next kind of set quest rather than more sandboxy. But this one seems like it might be more up my alley. We'll see. Maybe it will, maybe it won't.
So SnowRunner is very sandboxy, but I think it's also it's a whole lot of fetch quests, which isn't necessarily the thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Whereas,
exactly. Yeah.
Like you're given a fetch quest in a hostile environment is pretty much what SnowRunner is, but that doesn't necessarily appeal to most people. And I can fully understand that. I can fully understand it, but it's a lot of fun. Like if you're into that sort of, okay, the hardship of this is actually getting the materials to the right place in one go, not having to reset, not having to run out of fuel, and so on and so forth. That it can be fun, but the Roadcrafter, it adds something, like I said, and I'm curious. I'm hoping that the demo will give us some more answers on this.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. So we'll see. We'll see where that what the next week or so entails, and if we have fun with that, I'm sure we'll talk about it next time.
Oh yeah, that's the sort of thing that can bring in a lot of different people, because we're just kind of going, ooh, yes, this is exciting. Now, not to rain on anyone's parade or anything, but both you and me, we got a video from Mari not long ago where it showcased a new game, which is a pixel game from Wombat Brawler, which is a wonderful name, by the way, for a studio. And it's called Cast and Chill. And it describes itself as a cozy, idle fishing game where you explore serene lakes, rivers, and oceans, catch rare fish and upgrade your gear, and reel in legendary catches with your loyal pup by your side. It's set to release in June 2025 so far. And the instant I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is going on my wish list. And something that I didn't see before was that it says it has shared/split screen co-op, meaning this could be a couch co-op kind of thing.
Yeah.
That seems kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that it has that also, like, we haven't really explored this before, but there are games that have couch co-op that we can actually stream and play together through the screen share function that is in Steam.
Right. Okay.
We can talk more about that a different time, but it's. I haven't really thought about these sorts of games as perfect for couch co-op, but of course they are. Like, could you imagine having like Dave the Diver 2 and having two people work together on things?
Yeah,
I think
that would have increased the longevity of that for me.
Yeah. So this sort of thing where, all right, I don't know what kind of the game rotation or anything is in that, but I imagine it's like, you know what, we have 2 hours. Let's sit down and catch some fish, see if we're able to get some rare fish or whatever. I can see that being a thing. And in kind of thinking of this as a streamer, this is going to be one of those I can have a proper conversation with my community with this in the background. And there's going to be moments in the game that's going to allow us to steer the conversation further in towards something. There's probably going to be a few moments of, oh shit, I need to click now, or dang it, missed out on that catch. There's guaranteed going to be some progress going on, and yeah, I think this is cool. This is like, from what I can tell, it really lives up to its name. Cast and chill. Like, keep an eye out for those of you who are just as into fishing games as me and Grumbles. Because we are. Let's be fair, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's a bit of a segue.
Oh yeah.
Because I was thinking that we should revisit the Angler at some point.
Oh yeah.
The Angler doesn't have any live support anymore. Like Generation Zero, they are like, the game is still going to stay up. You can still play it. There will still be online, but there's no further development going on for that game. But I think that the Angler could be one of those games where if we enable shared chat, that could work well.
Interesting.
Because we've experimented with shared chat recently.
Yes.
And we have 2 instances now where we've used it for D&D. And I have to say, it works really well for that sort of stream.
Yeah.
We had my chat, yours, Damien's, Doc's, and Lima's. They were all joined together, and people got to watch from the view of their favorite streamer, but they got to share it with everyone, and I thought that was really nice. I feel like that is where shared chat really shines. What was your experience with it? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think so. I think what my takeaway from the shared chat is that there's definitely still some nuance and complexity to it at times. In particular, there's no easy answer to the aspect of it that is who is being like who's having the conversation with whom at which point in time. Where it works very, very well is in where there's a focused shared kind of objective, or the content is clearly about kind of the scene and the circumstance and what's going on, and how the people are reacting to it, rather more than like if you were just co-oping in any old game, then I think the tendency is more to like drift off into normal, like, or separated conversations, and then I think the shared chat would be challenging, because again, you would see everything that was being responded to, and there would be disconnected conversations running in parallel, and therefore a lot of the answers and comments wouldn't necessarily make sense. But where it shines in the D&D circumstance, where this week we tried delaying the start of the shared chat until the first 15-20 minutes were gone by, so that all the welcomes and hi and all the sort of catch-up stuff and hello. So basically the parts where the streamers are having their own separate discourse with their chat, with their separate chats, that part, it's very hard to bring that together. The communities would have to be incredibly tight-knit, or the subject matter would have to be, I mean, you kind of need to guide the conversation at that point, where you could have the separate chats, but and then bring them together, but the conversation needs to become like a communal one at that point. But that said, once it does turn to something that is a more of a focal point, like the D&D adventure, it works because everybody is chatting in their respective chat rooms, regardless of it being shared chat or not, but they're able to start interacting with each other because they're all sharing that experience, and they've all seen, the thing, just exploded, or somebody just got knocked out or fell down drunk or whatever, and we're all in that moment together. And even for me as one of the players, I occasionally, not too much, but occasionally I can like even put a comment or something into the shared chat just to kind of keep the conversation going and share a humorous moment with the audience rather than exclusively with the fellow players. So I think that's where it shines, where you have that focal point and that communal energy and conversation. And then you just have to try to keep that on track and not have anybody kind of get distracted or go off on too much of a separate tangent. And the bits where we can still stutter and stumble a little bit is still can be a little bit hard to understand the context that somebody might be replying to something in, like they might or their relationship with the particular channel that they're a regular in. If they don't happen to be a regular in multiple of the channels and they haven't got to know each of the each side fully yet, then it can lead to some slightly sort of disjointed or more complicated situations or circumstances that you need to kind of interpret or get a feel for. Because somebody might say something, I'll make the simplest example is if somebody was start like swearing like, oh, F this and I can't effing believe this or whatever, that might be totally cool in someone's chat, like Damien, for example, who's like an 18 plus streamer, and not so cool for me where I try to keep things PG-13 and reasonably low amount of swearing. I don't have a problem with it per se, but it's just not the tone, and something like that could change the room or change the feel of the room across the multiple different channels, as an example. That isn't an example that actually happened. It's just an easy way to explain or express what I mean as an example.
And this is why I kind of think that something like the Angler could work if it's just the two of us. Because then we will, like, or not just the Angler, but any sort of setting, like you just said, where we have the same moments happen in front of us. We're not too far apart. We're able to kind of work together on things. We'll usually be in a Jeep upside down in a ditch or in a boat on a lake. Oddly specific samples, I know.
Can't see that happening myself.
Or getting launched in the air in said boat. But yeah, it's those sorts of things where if you are close knit and you're both on board with the conversation, perfect. D&D shared storytelling, chef's kiss. Almost swore there. That was close. Chef's kiss there. Like, that is just this mwah. It's perfect for that. Like you said, get the conversation going, lead people into, okay, we're going to start the episode now, we're going to start the RP. But I have to say, for me as a DM, to be able to go out to all the communities and say, any questions or thoughts, chat, and it goes out to all of them, and I'm able to see them instantly. I don't have to get it relayed through someone else. That is, it's also beautiful because I can see instantly, like, the comments be like, oh no, or ooh, or ah, or questions without people having to migrate to my chat in order to ask me. And that feels very nice because that's always something that's felt sort of for my sake whenever we've been playing warships, for instance. If I mention that I'm going to do something, I've always tried to be covert about doing giveaways or such, because I don't want to seem like I'm trying to draw people into my place because I'm showing off something or we're doing a giveaway.
Yeah,
and
it's just awkward.
Yeah, and so for this, which is a shared question for all of those chats, I think it's fabulous. And it's finding those little moments of what game works, what setting works. And let's be fair, we could probably stream the recording of Exit to Port in a shared chat setting if we were to do it.
Yeah,
that could work. That's how simple it is. But we'll have to see if that's something we do at some point in the future. But no plan so far. I want to point that out. But no, I think I'm liking share chat. I'm coming around to it a bit more. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's it definitely in that example scenario, or in that D&D scenario, it definitely feels more natural and more comfortable to do than any of the others where we've either tried or we could think about trying it. I still think I still want to gain more experience with it before I kind of, I'm not. I think it mostly works. I still stand by my view that I think it's disappointing that Twitch are kind of using that, as a way to drive it or whatever. And I think that my view is, I think it would be perfectly appropriate and beneficial if, just having people stream together already without the shared chat should be seen as a win. And something that they want to promote, on the website. And I don't really think. I think they're kind of forcing it a little bit. And I don't know. I guess time will tell in the end whether it'll work. But I still have the feeling that sometimes it's happening just because, like, people are doing it just because it's then getting promoted differently. And whilst that's theoretically, like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, I wonder, like, it feels a bit disingenuous. Like, what, how are the audience? I mean, maybe it should be like, well, I don't care. People can tune in or not tune in if they like it or they don't, and I'm sure some people would have that kind of attitude. But for me, I'm like, I don't know. I want people to have a consistent experience. I want them to be able to be comfortable and relax and enjoy themselves. And I know we've already had the comments in various of the channels where people are like, I don't know if I like this because suddenly I'm in this room with a bunch of people, I have names and that I don't recognize, and I don't really feel like I can express myself or whatever. And I guess that's also just getting used to that too. But it does change the circumstance quite significantly for the audience, I think, because you'll find yourself in like double, triple, quadruple the size room or whatever, or just really the vibe being very different, So yeah, I need more experience with it, and we'll see. But I'm definitely seeing a much more positive side to it, and some good possibilities now that when in the context of a shared focal point for the conversation, for the content being like one set of content. Whether it would work as well for things like the anglers you described, I can see it working if we're kind of especially at the points where we're doing the same thing together, like we're both upside down in the boat that just crashed or whatever. Those moments could be absolute golden, for sure. Bits where it's like, well, I'm just going to go down here and like catch a couple of bass for this quest, and someone else goes, oh, well, I'm just going to go over there and like, hunt some rabbit or something as a side quest or something. Then you get a little bit more into the realm of it being a bit more vague and a bit more, there's disparate circumstances and things going on. It could still work, like for close-knit communities like ours, it could still very much work because, if I get murdered by the rabbit instead of killing the rabbit, or something, or a cougar jumps out and takes me and the rabbit, you would get that immediately. You would know me well enough and know, so it would be just hilarious. If you didn't, if the people didn't know each other that well, or the communities weren't that close, it would be a little bit more like, again, where we're back in the random stuff just happens somewhere and another, it's almost like you're watching and reviewing clips of what someone's just got up to, as opposed to being there in the room with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so like it's kind of like something I know I've talked about this before, and I'm gonna use this as an example where if you are a streamer and you bring on viewers or other voices together with you, your stream constantly hearing the commenting and the reflections of the people around you, that will not make any sense. And you being on one side of the map shooting at random Yamatos or whatever, and then hearing frantic yelling about oh no, the Smolensk is about to delete me. It's like, well, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But no, this is why I kind of brought up the angler as more of a specific one, because I know that in that game we would be very close together pretty much all the time. Yeah. There is no wandering off in that same way. There is no there's no separation of the quests in the same way. You're pretty much going to be there together, and so both people will have that same context. And I think I'm gonna go even further here and say, even the Hunter Call of the Wild would not work with shared chat for me, because that's the sort of game where suddenly you are going to be separated. People are going to be looking at different things, different parts of the map, and different moments. But no, it's all about that shared perspective and that shared storytelling, and anything that kind of has like if we were doing something just chatting, perfect. But again, we are sharing the same perspective, and people are getting the same thing on both channels, but you're not going to be forced to having to say the same thing in 3 different chats if that's needed. So no, I like it, but like you said, it feels like it's being shoehorned in a lot from Twitch.
Yeah,
which we've also covered regarding certain behavior of Mr. Dan Clancy, and how he views Twitch, but that's going to be for a different time to re-whip that horse. Wait, which of these buttons is it? Is it that one? Hey, there you go.
Good job.
Hey. I only have 2 buttons on this one. I want to point that out. Speaking of the other button, know your role.
Nice.
I'm never gonna change that. It's gonna annoy me.
So you shouldn't.
It's gonna annoy me every single time, but I'm not gonna change it. Know your role. This time sponsored by LimaZuluTango, our newest Patreon Patronus, our newest patron.
Yeah.
Where a Swedish name popped up on our patron, and this was right after we had a conversation where you were there. Like, yes, it was part of our farming sim day when we started talking about the Nordic names and such, and he mentioned something. Not long after, suddenly I got a pop-up, you have a new patron. And I was like, okay. And then my brain started looking through my my archives, like, oh, yes. And I was like, welcome, patron. Hi, Lima. I said, and then the eyes emote that is always on Apple chats and whatnot. And then I got back the emote of someone with a fake nose and fake glasses.
Nice.
And later, he asked me in chat, "Is it you or Grumbles that run the patron?" So, and then I had to explain it to him. Anyway, Lima has a good question for us, which fits perfectly into Know Your Role. And he says, my question for Exit to Port. Seeing as both of you are DMs and players, what universe would you like to play and DM in that isn't readily available? Indiana Jones, Alien vs. Predator, etc. Now I've already tried my hand at some of these things, so I have a few crowds or personal favorites at least. But I'm gonna pass the question off to you first.
Okay, so the first thing is I'll probably get some sort of I don't know, how many different things might exist already. I'm sure there's variations of a theme, but I did kind of like the idea sparked by one of the things Lima mentioned of I really like the very original Alien movie and Aliens, the sequel. And I think something like that where you kind of know a threat, but not necessarily all of them, because you've got the whole Weyland-Yutani Corp. You got possible. The other thing would be like Blade Runner. So you could do something with like an extended universe or world, or two worlds that connect. So instead of having multiple planes of existence, maybe there's just two, or like not having like dozens of different planes. So you just have like either you're in the Blade Runner world or you're in the Alien world. And maybe nobody can see where the crossover points are or whatever. So I think something like that could be interesting, or maybe just keep it simple and just have like, something that explores the alien lore and whatever. You've got all the engineers stuff. You've got all sorts of things going on, which has been sometimes well and sometimes terribly like explained and expressed in the various other, films that have come along in that series. That could be quite fun, I think, as someone who's like a fan of that kind of that world or that universe or whatever words you're supposed to use for these things these days. That would be something, because also what appeals to me with those is that it's kind of grounded. There's far-fetched and there's aliens and there's like some space travel and cryopods, but it's not extreme levels of things. It'd be interesting to see how that would pan out in terms of us being, nobody's like magical as such. You just have to use equipment and, deal with being humans and fighting something that's deadly and that kind of thing. Could be just an interesting challenge.
I think that could be really cool, like the aliens setting. Potentially, I've been just kind of trying to rack my brain a bit, but first and foremost, I have tried my hand at doing something like this with the Generation Zero setting that I did for Cthulhu and Mari and a few others, which was really cool. But it's the really hard bit of jumping into a place that doesn't necessarily have the usual roles. Like how do you go about it? Like what kind of system do you go for? What are you trying to find? But to give a more proper answer, I think it could be cool to have some sort of Battlestar Galactica, RoboCop, Judge Dredd, like just to be on the boots on the ground and in that setting, not necessarily military, but you are Joe Average to start out with, and then you go on this really cool journey.
Yeah.
Other things would probably be I was thinking of, would Inception work? Would Adjustment Bureau work? But then the last thought that hit me was a really cool idea that could be amazing to try to do is kind of a heist planner thing, like the Italian Job or Gone in 60 Seconds, or similar kind of things.
Yeah.
Where you have set roles, you have people that need to do their job well, and they are specialists in their area, and then you need to try to go through with this heist. And like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a modern setting, it doesn't have to be a sci-fi setting, but I think that could be kind of cool to have like a Gone in 60 Seconds idea where you are given this list of cars that you need to boost, and every last single one of the cars has a bit of a problem, or about where's it placed, who's the owner, will the owner come after you, all of these things. I think that could be cool, but I'm not sure how we do it, but it could be cool.
Yeah, I agree. That could be quite fun. Reenactment of the Italian Job.
Oh,
or something like that.
You know what? The Italian Job, or what's the one with George Clooney? Ocean's 11.
Oh yeah.
Ocean's 11 could be a really cool kind of thing to try to DM or RP.
I gotta say, this won't come as any surprise to anybody, least of all you. But I do like your Battlestar Galactica idea, where you have different, like, you can pick to be like the engineer, you can be the command, you can be fighter pilot, you can be a marine, all these various different roles that you had, and then you go on a mission and let's see
the Expanse.
How. Oh yeah, there you go. Exactly. That would be fantastic, because I love the idea. There's something I'm trying to get towards in Space Engineers, which we're kind of doing a little bit with the YouTube series in a way, like far off it, but this idea of, you got your salvaging missions, you've got your rescues, you've got your ship falling out of orbit, you've got your asteroid crashes into a planet rescue, the rescue zone, all sorts of like little side quests or one shots or whatever you could do in that.
You know what could be a cool system to base an Expanse roleplay off of? It's the one they made for Firefly.
All right. Okay.
Where the player's handbook is called Big Damn Heroes, I think it is.
Okay.
And I think that could really work well, because you pretty much are a ship crew. You're not necessarily on the Firefly. You're not necessarily going to be on the Rocinante, but you're going to be on a crew, and you're going to have a pilot. You're going to have a captain or whatever. You're going to have these different roles, and then solve these different problems that you just mentioned. And I think that could be cool. The only problem I'm having with Battlestar Galactica as kind of an issue is, if you make it party based, which most of these sorts of games would have to be, being a Viper pilot or such, like you would go out on the combat air patrol and whatnot, but what do the others do in the meantime? You're constantly splitting the party. So I think it would have to be in one of the settings where it's either the lead up to the Cylon War, or the first Cylon War, or even the settlement they have temporarily, where they are under the oppression of the Cylons, something like that. That's where you could do something like that, because then we're talking covert operations, and that sort of role play. I think that could be cool.
Yep.
But definitely, like, Galactic is a really cool setting. It is.
Yep.
It definitely
But
is.
I like the idea, even the thing with the Vipers and all the rest of it, where I think I agree with you, but I mean, just probably going too far into it now, but I'm almost imagining like you could have a scenario where it's a Cylon attack or some sort of maybe there's something else going on, like a Cylon attack on some other colony or something, and then you've got your Vipers in that, but your other people are like in command or in communication, so you basically have the party in contact together and they're all doing their own distinct roles. But if they don't all pull together, then they'll fail, and if they do all pull together, then there's more chance of success, or you could have like different degrees of success, depending on how roles and decisions and ideas come together or don't. So I think you could do it where I agree with you, but you need a scenario that then ties the party together regardless. And I think that works because you're in, as opposed to a normal D&D setting kind of thing, because you're in a high-tech, constant comms, constant communication scenario. So you can be in disparate places but still get a job done together. Or you could have two different ships, like one of them's a drop ship with cargo and all your engineers and marines and stuff like that, and the other one's like the Viper pilots, and they've got to defend the drop ships and that kind of stuff too. So I can definitely see how it can be made to work, but you'd have to craft the scenarios carefully so that everybody was a part of it. Also, when I think about those excellent role play groups that the Table Story team do on Twitch, where some of them work better than others, but that's obviously subjective too. But you do things where it's like each character's having like maybe one or two characters at a time having a scene, and the others are just kind of listening in or whatever, and then the next two have their scene, and then it comes back together to the group at some checkpoint, like, okay, everyone's landed now. You lost 3 out of 7 ships on the way down, but you're gathering together and all that, and you're all landed. What do you do now, kind of thing? So you can definitely intermix some kind of the one-to-ones, which is a little bit like how we're doing it in our Sunday session anyway, Could be cool. Good question, though.
Hear me out. Subnautica.
Yeah.
Like...
terrifying.
Like, just, you are like, you random roll your characters that are being transported on the Aurora, and the pods go down, and then starts the entire job of getting the heck off this planet.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That could actually be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Horrifying if you have certain phobias of the deep down, dark. Hi, it's me. I'm one of those. But that could actually be kind of cool to go through. Speaking of Subnautica, I think we're gonna have to a look at that at some point when Subnautica 2 comes out, because co-op. I'm staying in the safe shallows. I want to point that out. I'm not.
Okay. Sure, I'll do the deep down, dark down bits, and you can. I'll make the food. Lament the fact that I've gone missing somewhere and probably been eaten by something. It'll be fine.
It's gonna be
Grumbles? Shoot.
Yeah, like you're just gonna go ahead and assume that my mic is broken, but that you can hear me fine and everything's okay. And then the rest is just you talking to yourself the whole time. I've become Wilson.
Oh, I love the YouTube series that Neebs Gaming did on that. They actually had one guy playing, and then they did the whole thing of communicating with the main base through that, and I think that could be fun to do. But yeah, no, back to the question at hand. Like, there's, like, once you start thinking of potential games or settings or such that could be cool to do, another one that comes to mind, it would have to be a bit more almost roguelike. Because there are a few role-playing games where you do that. It would be Helldivers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You are random Helldiver number 3 from the left. You're dropped down. How long will you survive? Will you survive? Who knows? And then have tiny quirks with each of the soldiers. Or, like different skills, but you're going to have the same loadout that you had when you first dropped in.
Mm-hmm.
But there are variations you can do, and I think that could actually be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them. Yeah. No, excellent question. Very excellent question. I like that. Any last additions?
I wonder. It just makes me curious what Lima, what he would suggest. What would be his one?
Yeah.
It's interesting he mentioned Indiana Jones as an example.
Yeah. It's I wonder why. Feel free to leave comments. To anyone listening to this, by the way, what would be cool for you to roleplay in? That's not necessarily a familiar setting or normally seen as a role playing game. Feel free to comment that. What's a world you really love? Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
Which brings us into the rest of the community contributions, where Mari has a bit of a question for us regarding our podcasting for 5 years now, dude. Mari says, 5 years of podcasts. Is there going to be an anniversary episode with special guests? What is your personal outlook for the year of recording? And I think we kind of touched on this in the sum up episode of season 4, where we slightly talked about what we want to do with this coming year, where we want to have more of the people from Conquest and Cataclysm. We want to have more guests, but do we have anything special planned so far? No, we don't. But I would love to do something special. I would. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree. I don't have like an immediate idea or thinking or a thing that I want to, we must do this. But it is an interesting point. I'm not really the best when it comes to celebrating things or, milestones and that kind of stuff. I tend to be much more like, take it every day and every moment as it comes kind of approach to things. But it's definitely an interesting thought, and it would be interesting to have a think about how we would plan something like that. I know that we do intend to have more guests on, and it could be maybe a nice like introduction for guests to be, or like a focal point, so that it's not all putting them under too much pressure or whatever. Potentially. So it could work quite well, like, that's our 5-year thing and we're really happy to have you along kind of stuff, and have that as like a lead in, so it's not just like, you're immediately under the bright spotlights, go. So that could work.
Were you the second gunman on the grassy knoll? We're not going to go there. We're not going to.
Too soon.
How is that too soon? Come on.
I know, right? What is it, 61 years or so? Yeah, too
like
soon.
No, it is. I think you have a good point, and anyone we bring on would have to be aware that they are naturally going to be asked questions. They're naturally going to be asked to participate. They're not going to just sit here as an idle audience. That's that would be counterproductive to
it's our job. That's why we bring the guests on, so that we can be idle.
We're tired of talking. You talk.
Yeah, enough of us. Now you spotlight.
Yeah, no, it's it would be cool to have a few fellow creators on, but I would also love to have a non-creator on, but rather someone to have a conversation with regarding their special projects, their special interests, and such. But but not necessarily tied to what goes on Twitch, you know. Because we naturally will gravitate towards people that are on Twitch and do that, but it would be really nice for a special episode to talk to someone about a certain topic, and role playing being one of them. Finding someone who has been a DM for a long time or has been involved with role playing for a long time, either creating it or designing it or whatever, you know, that it could be really cool to have someone on for their perspective of role playing from a bit of more of a producer's side, you know, not just content creation.
Yeah.
And get a bit of a feel for that. I think that could be cool. What are other things we could cover that's outside of the normal content creation sphere? It's a tough question, huh?
Yep.
So
that's what we should ask them.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't know how to answer this ourselves, so
but
in 30 seconds or less.
Oh God, talk about putting people on the spot, huh?
Yeah.
But no, this is something that I am going to pass back to the audience. If you could choose someone that you think we could have a good conversation with, because obviously a lot of you have listened a lot to us, you know how we go about things on this podcast and on our own streams. Who is someone that you think that we could have a cool conversation with about what they do? And it doesn't have to be something that we are directly linked to either. I want to point that out. But someone that you feel deserves an extra spotlight for their extraordinary hobby or whatever, you know. Let's share some passions. How about that? Talk to us, people.
Talk to me.
Talk to me, Goose. Talking about too soon, huh? We are gonna celebrate a little victory, which I honestly think is a pretty big victory. And you mentioned this when I said little victories. Where we at?
Yep.
And talk me through it. What's going on with this person?
Yeah. So Aubiron, who is a regular in the community and a big, a lurker, and someone who enjoys a good lurk. And there's nothing wrong with that. We really love and appreciate our lurkers. Just popped up, and they're not the kind of person that is normally like, looking for attention or anything like that. And in fact, hadn't done anything in terms of, making a fuss about any of these things. Just appreciate the content and the chill vibes and being able to kind of relax and have a safe space to go to. Piped up and let us know that they'd had a significant reduction in their cancer tumor and circumstance, and that this was like, obviously it's a huge deal, but just wanting to like bring that in and share it, because a lot of what they're getting from lurking and chilling is just, taking those good vibes and trying to stay positive and we all have our challenges and trials and whatever in life, and it's never a competition. But, that's certainly anything to do with the big C is certainly right up there amongst any of them in terms of how it plays on your physical and mental health at any given moment. And being able to kind of share that and celebrate in that together and get all the good vibes responses and that positive recognition and reinforcement. That was just a really, really good, like, happy moment. And congratulations. And I hope that it continues in that, same positive direction. And that you win that horrible fight. So yeah, good vibes, and thank you for sharing that really positive news.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. That is, like, I know that's not necessarily the easiest for a lot of people sometimes. Maybe especially for lurkers to even say anything. And again, there's nothing wrong with lurking. I want to point that out. Just lurkers are the lifeline of Twitch. So whenever someone shares something like this, that's not just a little victory. It's a big victory. But I find it important to celebrate these and celebrate any sort of victory where it is progress. That is important. And yeah, no, this is one of those. And congratulations, and hopefully that continues. So thank you. We're in a bit of a trend of thank yous. Once again, thank you to our patrons. Before we say what we are smiling about currently, patrons currently are Maringana, FionnMacCorvus, MrRoboto, Tiltedhead, and our newest patron, LimaZuluTango. Of course, you can support us on patreon.com/exit2port, $2 a month or equivalent to support our little podcast here, and we are inching closer to being fully supported per month for Patreon. So thank you so much for that. We are hoping to continue this trend of releasing episodes early to you, and maybe at some point in even the near future, giving you some exclusives.
There you go. Thank you very much as well from my side. And don't forget, if it goes even better and keeps going in that trend, maybe one day we can afford to employ some professional podcasters.
Well, technically, we are getting paid now, so we are professional podcasters.
Oh, shh! Don't remember the retirement fund.
Oh shoot! Yeah. Yes, please sponsor us or whatever.
For legal reasons, we're not trying to take your $2 a month or equivalent and retire on it.
No, currently there is a whopping $44 in the patron fund. This is for full disclosure of where we're at with our riches.
We have to make this clear disclosure and this clarity, because we can't even afford lawyers to defend our case if it came to that. So take a joke, people.
I'll gladly share screenshots with us so you want any sort of proof. But no, it would be really cool to be able to at least say that every month is fully covered by patrons. That would be amazing. It would be. Yeah. And that makes me smile, which brings us over to something to smile about.
Nice.
Where I would dare say that we have engineered our smiles in a way. Isn't that right? Grumbles.
Nice segue.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So I know we already talked a fair bit about space engineers, so I don't want to harp on about it. But I do want to bring up and really emphasize how much the space engineers experience has made me smile, because being able to, find and interact with so many different communities, both on the Twitch space and the YouTube space, as well as over various Discords and communities there too, has been an absolute delight. And seeing again the feedback from people, not only enjoying the content just for what it is, but also getting the feedback about how it's helping people get through difficult moments, get some good vibes going, all that positive energy and so forth. That's been an absolute delight as well. So that's definitely made me smile. We like to get the feedback and the positivity, and I'm never one to break my hand patting myself on my back whatsoever, but just knowing and gaining that confidence from that feedback that people are, genuinely enjoying and getting that positive energy, and whatever you need to get through the day and whatever. That's why I do it in the first place. So kudos to all of the different creators and players that are performing in that series, because not all of them are content creators. Some are, lovely community members and fellow players as well, and just enthusiasts of the engineers. And it's just been so overwhelmingly positive and well received. I wanted to just bring that up and let you guys know that it means a lot to me to know that we can make people smile and get through the day and whatever it may be. So thank you for that feedback.
Yes, indeed. It's as if telling your favorite streamer or content creator that you enjoy their stuff is really positive for them. Strange. Weird that. I know it's not like that for everybody, and for some it's going to be one of those things. I don't want feedback, but there are some of us that if we ever get just even a tiny feedback that this made me smile, not just that I like you, no, it's this made me smile, this that direct feedback on whatever it is we make, it lives on for a long time in a content creator's heart. Trust me on this.
Yep. How about you, Tiger? What have you been smiling about?
It's something. I think it was it's not long ago where I had one of those days where I was unable to get out of bed at a proper time. Like I was just stuck doom scrolling and being like properly down on myself for not going through my tasks, not being able to start my tasks, like full on task paralysis. And then I came across a wonderful little video on YouTube where the first words were reverse drive-thru, and I was like, what? Is this gonna just be a silly video about someone reversing through a drive-thru? No. They drove up to, I think this was an In-N-Out restaurant in the US somewhere.
Right.
And then they were like, so we're not ordering anything, but we were wondering if we could order something for you guys. Like if you're working and like, do you want lunch or anything? We'll go anywhere for you guys and pick up food from there and bring it back here. And the people in the register were like, what? Are you serious? Like, yeah. And then they drove up to the counter and had a cool conversation with them. Went through the full thing. They asked everyone in the restaurant, like people working in the restaurant, what do you want? And then the people behind the restaurant were like, I can't afford this. It's like, no, that's not what we said. What do you want? And they ended up with, if we want to try some Panda Express or something.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, can we get some orange chicken and a few other things? And the people in the car were like, yep, we got you. They then went to Panda Express, ordered all of this, and then they said, hey, this is going to this place. And they really wanted this. Do you want anything? And they turned it into this really cool positive spiral about talking positively about the food of the restaurant that they went to the place, and then brought that to someone else that really wanted it, that were working.
Cool.
And you could sense the proper gratitude in the people working in those restaurants.
Yeah. That
people wanted to do this, that they didn't have to pay for their own lunch or something like that. And it's just the act of doing something so simple.
Yeah.
To a complete stranger that like you have no idea if they need it or not, but you are willing to give this to them in a way where you know that they are working. You can provide something for them. And then just like the comment section was just absolutely fabulous on this video. I sat there and I giggled and I laughed, and like all the little things that comments picked up on through how people reacted, things they said they enjoyed, and the conversation that in a weird way went on between these 3 or 4 restaurants, I think it ended up
Right.
being.
Yeah.
Like just having these conversations between the people in the car driving around, because this was on Valentine's Day too.
Okay.
So yeah, it was actually, you know, if this was the video was for Valentine's Day, so this was probably on the 15th or 16th that I saw it, so not many days ago actually, now that I think about it. But it was just really cool to see, like complete strangers just doing something nice for other strangers.
Yeah.
And that made me smile, like proper full-on smile.
Awesome.
So there you have it, everybody. Go out and reverse drive-through, or not
Reverse
necessarily.
drive-through. Yeah. At least I don't have to be as confused as I was when you first brought it up. Now.
Yeah, because your first reaction was silence,
I was about to
silence,
say what now?
silence, and what?
Yeah, those are like the 2 or 3 seconds where I process and then reprocess a couple of times, and then I give in and say no, it still doesn't make sense.
And I kind of figured I would get that sort of reaction from you, which also made me smile. So you know, there's that. But that's gonna be it for us for today. Thank you so much to everyone who has been listening. This is your final reminder to be as kind to yourself as you are to others. And it's gonna be a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Grumbles.
Goodbye. Good vibes.
Goodbye, everybody. And let's exit to port to the next one.